Attention passionate Cleveland, BROWNSFANS. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Cleveland, BROWNSFANS. Let's get to the news. When we talk about the Cleveland Browns in 2025, we're not just talking about a team that's been trying to find its footing for years. No, we're talking about a franchise that's at a crossroads, with so many questions looming over the season ahead. And one of the biggest questions, maybe the most pressing, revolves around the quarterback position. It's a topic that's been buzzing around the NFL circles for months now, especially as training camp approaches and fans are eager to see how this puzzle will finally come together. But here's the thing, the Browns are sitting in a very interesting, very complicated spot. They have a roster filled with talent, but the question of who will be under center is still very much up in the air. And that uncertainty is what makes this offseason so intriguing, so tense, and so full of potential surprises. Now, as we look at the current state of the Browns' quarterback room, it's almost hard to believe how crowded and competitive it's become. We've got two veterans, Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, both experienced guys with different trajectories and different expectations. Flacco, who's been around the league for over a decade and has seen it all, still holds a certain appeal, especially given his leadership and playoff experience. On the other hand, Kenny Pickett, the young gun from Pittsburgh, is seen by many as a potential franchise cornerstone, a guy who could lead the Browns into a new era if given the chance. But it's not just these two, because the Browns also have two promising rookies, Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, both of whom are eager to make their mark in the NFL. This quartet of quarterbacks makes Cleveland's room arguably the most competitive and deepest in the entire league, and that's saying a lot considering how much emphasis teams put on the quarterback position nowadays. But with all this talent, the question remains, who's going to start? Who will be the guy to lead this team into the 2025 season? Right now, it's still anyone's guess. The Browns haven't announced any definitive plans, and that's part of what makes this story so fascinating. You see, the offseason is usually a time for teams to make bold moves, to improve their rosters, and sometimes to make tough decisions. And one topic that's been gaining traction is whether the Browns should consider trading away one of their quarterbacks, particularly Joe Flacco. Now, I want to emphasize that this is all speculation, a prediction rather than a confirmed report. But it's rooted in logic, in a realistic understanding of what the Browns might need to do if they want to maximize their chances, both in the short and long term. Some analysts, including well-known NFL voices like Matt Holder from Bleacher Report, have been talking about the possibility of Cleveland shopping Flacco. Why? Because while Flacco could serve as a reliable backup or even a stopgap starter at the beginning of the season, there's a growing belief that keeping him on the roster might not be the best move for the team's future. The logic is pretty straightforward. Flacco, who's now in his late 30s, is on a one-year deal, and his presence might be more about veteran leadership than long-term potential. But the Browns are in a bit of a bind here, because ultimately, they want to see what their young guns can do. They want to give Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, and Dillon Gabriel the chance to develop, to prove they're the future of this franchise. And that's where the dilemma comes in. Do the Browns keep Flacco around for this season, hoping he can stabilize things and provide some veteran guidance? Or do they trade him now, acquire some draft capital, and let the rookies and Pickett take over? On paper, it might seem obvious trading Flacco could free up some roster spots and cap space, and it's probably the smartest move for a team looking to rebuild or at least reset its long-term outlook. But the reality on the ground is more complicated. Because, as I mentioned earlier, the Browns are in a delicate situation with their head coach Kevin Stefanski and general manager Andrew Berry. Both of them are fighting to keep their jobs after a rough stretch of seasons. Last year's performance, which saw the Browns finish with only 3 wins, has put a lot of pressure on their leadership. If this season turns out to be another disappointment, it could mean major changes in Cleveland's front office and coaching staff. That's why, despite the logical case for trading Flacco, the team might hold on to him a little longer. Staying competitive in the short term could be what keeps their jobs safe, and that might mean relying on Flacco's experience to help them get through the early part of the season. It's a classic case of what's best for the team in the long run versus what's necessary to stay afloat in the moment. And I tell you, this balancing act is what makes this offseason so intense for Browns fans. You look at the roster, at the talent available, and you wonder, will they make the bold move and trade Flacco before the season starts? Or will they keep him as a safety net until they see how the rookies and Pickett develop? Now, let's zoom out and take a broader look at what the Browns are trying to do in 2025. This team, historically, has always been about resilience and potential. They've had their share of heartbreak and near misses, but there's a renewed sense of hope this year. The addition of new talent, the development of young players, and the coaching staff's emphasis on a disciplined, aggressive style. These are all signs that Cleveland is trying to turn the page. But the quarterback situation remains the biggest question mark. It's the key to unlocking the ceiling of this team. If they find a consistent, reliable signal caller, they could surprise a lot of people this season. If not, it could be another long year, with fans holding their breath, wondering if the front office will be bold enough to make the necessary moves. And speaking of players, let's talk about some of the other key figures in this Browns roster. The defense, for instance, has been one of the bright spots in recent years. Led by stars like Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, Cleveland's defense has the talent and the depth to be among the top units in the league. Garrett, in particular, has been a game-changer, a pass rusher who can take over games on his own. If the Browns can get consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks, it could mask some of the struggles on offense, especially if the quarterback play isn't stellar right out of the gate. The offense, of course, has its own set of questions. The offensive line has been reshaped, trying to provide better protection for whoever is under center. They've added some new pieces in free agency and the draft, aiming to give their quarterback more time and space to operate. But the true test will be how quickly these new components gel together, and whether the playmakers like Amari Cooper and David Njoku can step up and be consistent threats. Looking ahead, the schedule for the Browns isn't the easiest, but it's not insurmountable either. They will face some tough divisional rivals, like the Ravens and Bengals, who always give Cleveland headaches. But there are also opportunities for the Browns to make a statement early on, especially if their defense can dominate and keep games close. The AFC North, as you know, is one of the most competitive divisions in football, with the Ravens and Steelers continuously vying for supremacy. This season could tip the balance one way or another, and the quarterback decision will play a huge role in that outcome. If Cleveland can settle on a starter early and give him confidence, they could steal some wins and position themselves for a playoff run. But if the uncertainty drags on, it might cost them dearly. Now, let's talk a little about expectations. Browns fans have been craving a return to the playoffs for years, and honestly, this team has the talent to make it happen. But football is unpredictable, and with so many uncertainties, it's hard to say exactly how things will unfold. Still, the optimism is there. The organization has been investing heavily in young talent, and the coaching staff is known for its strategic approach. The key is consistency, especially at the most important position on the field, quarterback. If they get that right, Cleveland could very well be a dark horse contender in the AFC. If not, it might be another year of what could have been, with fans wondering if the front office made the right call. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this whole quarterback saga? Do you think trading Flacco is the right move? Or do you believe they should keep him around to help the rookies develop? Are you confident in Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, or Dylan Gabriel taking the reins? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the future of this team. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, analysis, and breaking news, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news. We're in this together, and I can't wait to see what the season holds for our beloved Browns. Remember, football is a game of passion, resilience, and hope. Cleveland fans are some of the most passionate in the league, and no matter what happens in this offseason, one thing is certain: the love for the Browns runs deep. So stay tuned, stay loud, and let's keep the faith alive. The best is yet to come, and I truly believe that this season could mark a new chapter in Browns history. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Browns.